Oh yes, I'm definitely muted. All right. Yeah, sorry about the delay. The restream was so I had to reset my stream key like 5 times, and then it finally worked. I don't know what was going on, but I've never had that happen. Sorry, it was really confusing. Oh, I just wasted the last hour of my life because my AC started flooding all over the floor again. So that's really cool. You know, really, really neat. Not sure what I'm supposed to do about that because I have people mad at me right now saying that I should be working and not making things up like my AC flooding, so don't know what I'm gonna do. To be honest with you guys, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So the client wants all of these lanterns to be dead, so they're not supposed to be lit up at all, but he wants them to be reflecting the OSL above, so that's pretty much what we're working on right now. Just doing the edges on the lanterns to reflect, literally reflect, figuratively and literally, the blue light from above, so. So that is what we're working on. Right now, I'm just using the same color that I used for the base of the OSL on the lanterns. So assuming that these are metallic, right, I would want them to be reflecting that same color up. And then the closer they're getting to the light source, like the more edges I'm highlighting on them and different things like that, so. So that's about as far down as that's gonna go. But what's sort of difficult with what's going on this base is that literally there are so many lanterns that are outside of the purview of the OSL that it's not really feasible necessarily to try and do that. So I don't know. Not a very I don't know. Not the approach that I would take for painting this, but Not my miniature, not my problem. I am going to go back around. The other issue with this too is this thing's like impossible to hold. So I'm just trying to see where I may run into some problems here along the baseline. Looks like really just the ones down at the edge are going to chip essentially for me holding it. So actually I'm not too worried about that because they wouldn't be getting that OSL anyway. So alright, so I'll just ignore that for now. I just got that paint out thinking that I would try and adjust it, but looks like not at all. I don't really care, so. What I am interested though is if I can make this darker for the rocks. Get more of that light there on the rocks. Thanks for hanging out today. Of course, I hope you guys are having a better day than I am. I would assume his little toenails would probably be highlighted as well. But big shout out to everybody watching on YouTube today. Big shout out to everybody watching on Twitch. Shout out to everybody watching on Facebook as well. If you're on Facebook, please share this out for me. I haven't put this anywhere, so if you could share this to whatever. Hold on. I'll just share it myself. I'm not too concerned. I am in no rush and no mood today, so if you're watching on Twitch and you've been saying anything, or if you're watching on YouTube and you've been saying anything, I'm not looking at that chat currently, but I will see you here in 2 seconds, so give me 1 second as I share this out to a couple groups here on Facebook. One more painting happy little minis. Alright. Cool. Alright, let me hop over here and see what's going on. Nothing exciting. Okay. Nothing exciting. Oh, what's up, Peter? Good to see you over on Facebook. Or, sorry, YouTube. I got toenails that reflect lantern light. It gives me a +1 to creepiness. Okay. Who needs to look at the miniature to paint when you can just look at the monitor, right? That's funny. I'm just sort of looking at like how it would cascade down. So this is also helpful since I can't really see from that angle necessarily. So I'm just trying to make sure my lighting is correct. So you can see that it is much more fuller and in-depth in terms of that tone up top. So I need to also flesh out probably that section right there, but not touch anything really beyond these two lanterns. So highlight up these little edges here on the back of these lanterns. Give them only the slightest a bit of life back there. And then we will highlight this stuff up. So using a dirty palette with dirty water, because who cares? Don't really need the cleanest pigment for what we're working on right now, so. Just doing some forced highlighting here. Adding some texture. Things like that. That looks pretty good though. Let's zoom it out. That looks like some cascading light if you ask me, but I could be wrong. Oh, you like my shirt today? Thank you, Sarah. Good target find. Goes well with the rose-colored hair. Pairs nicely. This looks a little weird right here. See how the paint sort of rejected itself and bounced out? Very odd. You can't see, I couldn't see it from this angle, but I can definitely see it on the monitor, so we'll go ahead and fix that. Alright, let's look at it from this angle. So it looks like I still need to push. I still need to push up underneath the paw. So let me go ahead and just like literally make a mark. There we go. So that way I'll know. See, it's like way further back than the angle that I'm painting from. So like visually speaking, what I'm painting right now isn't something that looks like I should be highlighting up, at least from the perspective that I'm painting from. Hopefully that is making sense. But when I look at it from above, it makes perfect sense. It's like, yeah, you should be doing that. So prior to the flooding starting again about an hour ago, I had finished up Gorm. What else? I don't know. I did. Oh, finished up Gorm. Finished up the Kingsman. Started work on the hand. I'm gonna be finishing the hand, finishing the Watcher, finishing one other thing today. I was hoping the tree. I was hoping. Oh, let me back this out. Sorry. Gotta love smooth tones. As always, if you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to drop them in the chat and I will try and help you out. You know, I'm not a licensed therapist, but I can probably talk you off an edge. Beyond that, the rest of this week, obviously, nothing but Kingdom Death. And then next week is going to be, like, I don't know the exact count, but, like, at least 4 Scythe sets. It might be more than that. And then everybody else beyond that, so... It's going to be such a great break from painting stuff like this to just go do something mindless, like a bunch of sets of Scythe. And then, of course, we have the Summer Atelier happening in, like, I don't even know how many days. I'm not trying to think about it. I'm not prepared. I have, like, you know, whatever, but it's going to be great. So... Alright, I like that. I think that's good. Definitely some good cascading of light there. Now when we look from the top, let's see. That makes a lot more sense. I still feel like this should be brighter, but maybe not because his body is in the way casting shadow. I think what I'll do is I'll just make a darker version of this teal and I'll just cover everything down there so it has a nice little base to work off of. Okay, cool, I like that. So we'll move over to the tail side. Wink, wink. Wink, wink, wink. It's a tail. Wink, wink, wink. Definitely a tail. Not a giant you-know-what. I don't think this is marked as family-friendly, right? Yeah, it's not. Okay. No problem. Yeah. Cool. Alright, same thing we were doing last time. So, I'm going to be looking at it from above. So, obviously, the PP is going to get a reflection, but it looks like pretty much the same MO. We're going to focus on this part and then only do lanterns on the way down. So, I'll do the lanterns first. That's going to be easy because it's nothing but edge work. So, we'll just knock these out very rapidly. Get those reflections rocking. Where is my... There we go. There's the focal point. Tilting the brush all kinds of angles just to overbrush the edges. Just to save a fraction of time. See, the further away I'm getting, I'm only doing sort of like 2 to 3 points per lantern. Because that helps tie into the illusion, right? That obviously the light is not reflecting as much off of these metal lanterns the further away you get. But it's still reflecting a little bit, so. Of course, you could dry brush this as well. If you were in a hurry or you just don't care to spend lots of time doing little individual marks, but if this were my Mini, what I would probably do is not... You know, I'm not sure actually what I would want to do. I don't think I would do... Well, I would probably still do non-metallic metal, but I would probably... use the airbrush to do like generic highlights on the lanterns, and then I would tint them down with the airbrush like I'm using a wash, and then I would wash on top and then only do a couple highlights out. So like a lot of grays, a lot of browns, a lot of darker shadow, spraying it up from the bottom, right? So like obviously this guy would have to be painted afterwards, or I would mask it off and just like hold it like that or whatever. But that's what I would do if this were mine. I don't think it would really take too long, so it would probably look pretty good. Always making sure the tip of this brush is nice and saturated with water. That way it stays bendy. It allows me to do those little brush strokes and everything very quickly. Keeps them accurate, predictable. Alright, let's see how we're doing from above here. Looks pretty good. You can tell that it's obviously a bigger concentration there on the right-hand side of the highlights, and then as you move down, there's way less highlights. So now, like on this edge, right, we're going to go into the rocks to apply that highlight. We'll do the same thing here. Okay, so from above, I want to push it pretty much all the way up into the back. Okay. Alright, where do I want to start? Right here? This looks good. I don't know if you guys saw the mini from our class last night, but definitely check that out. We had fun working on that guy. That sculpt was definitely more challenging than I expected whenever I sort of picked it out for the class. I knew it would be a good example miniature, I just didn't know exactly sort of the depth of that sculpt. It was really crazy. Lots of, like, literally varying depths because it's at, like, an odd angle. And then you have the skeletons that are, like, buried into it and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So, classic Julie Guthrie sculpting from Reaper. But remember, you can always check that stuff out at minipainting.studio in the Scholar section. And if you are watching and you used to be on Patreon and you're wondering why you haven't seen anything on Patreon, it's because somehow over the last 3 months you didn't see the fact that we left Patreon. We were only using it for billing anyway, so. Now we are in control of that situation. But definitely check it out, minipainting.studio. I don't remember the actual / URL, but just follow the Scholar content link on the top. Remember, you can always check out everything that I use every single day as well on Amazon. We have an Amazon shop. Go to minipainting.studio and click the Amazon link, and you'll be able to check out all of that information as well. If you're ever interested in a commission, Mini Painting Studio / pricing is what you're looking for there. If you want to check out the different products that I have available, like the periodic table of painting, the non-metallic metal guides, the power-up palettes, you name it, that would be minipainting.studio / store. To check that as well. Or not, either way. It's all good. Appreciate you being here. Let me see, I need to pull this highlight from the back. So I need to be pulling the pigment this way, like that. So I've got it all pooled up like a big old animal that paints like a crazy person. Now I'm just gonna take water and feather it in. Look at that. Painting is so easy. See how easy that was? It only takes you 20 years to figure it out, but it's all good. Feather out these brush strokes. It's a little bit more humid in here today, so the paint, even though it's as thin as I normally use it, it is giving me about 4 seconds extra to work with, so that's kind of cool, I guess. Even though it's humid in here because the AC broke again and flooded, of course, but, you know, I can't deal with it, so. It's funny, like, when you have an emergency like that happen, but you literally are, like, afraid to take the time to fix it because people get mad at you. That's pretty cool. I wonder if people are, I wonder if, like, people that book tours to Paris right now are calling because they want refunds because Notre Dame isn't open. They're like, this huge tragedy just happened, but I'm mad at you for taking time to fix it. I want to get in there. I feel like that's a good example of what I'm talking about. Obviously, not at all on the same level, though. I am glad they were able to save, like, the stone structure, and then they saved, what, the crown of thorns, and then, I don't know, what is it, some kind of, like, tunic or something, some piece of clothing. A lot of people don't realize, too, literally that building is, like, what's it considered? I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like the 1100s. I think what, like 1080 is when it was construction started. I don't remember the exact dates, but took 200 years to build, right, until completion or something like that. I'm trying to remember all of my art history. So right now I'm just reaching back in to try and pull those highlights forward. Okay, so let's see what we're looking at. Definitely looks like some cascading light to me. Oh, it even looks cool from the front. Nice, it looks like it's spilling out. We can actually make it spill out more. I keep having those reverse burps. I don't know how to describe them correctly. It's where you literally are like, you just sort of breathe in. I don't know what's going on. That's funny. That's funny, JV. Good to see you, though. Saw my friend Katie joined in here for a second. Bounced out, I think. She's one of my D&D players and good friends. If she is watching, I only said D&D player first because I've talked about the group here before. That's funny. Yeah, she's just a D&D player. No big deal. Let me see what my phone's vibrating here. Oh my gosh, my stomach hurts now. I haven't been eating. I did so good. Yeah, I need to go back through and finish updating it all on the website to make it easy to view there, but literally, I mean, you know what's going on. I'm just... Sometimes I feel like it's an accomplishment that I even just make it through the day, so... Okay, so I did pull that to the front a little bit, yep. So I can probably pull it to the front a little bit on that side. Even though literally no one's gonna look at the miniature from this angle. If they're inspecting it at least. I mean, if they do, they're a weirdo because literally there's nothing to see here, folks. Somebody left like a really weird comment the last time I shared, like the first time we worked on this. It was like, they said something along the lines of like, what did they say? They were like, something about this. They were like, why didn't you position it differently? Or like, why, it just seems so out of place. I'm like, dude, there is no build option in Kingdom Death Miniatures. Like, you get the mini, you build the mini. They're, you know, other than the armor kits where you have options, all of these guys, there are no options, so. You just build it in the pose you get. Now, obviously, you could do green stuff work, whatever. That is something that I just literally don't offer to most people because it's not something that I am efficient enough to price appropriately, if that makes sense. Like, I would probably take a loss no matter what if I was doing custom sculpting for someone, just because it takes me so long. Like, I have, well, I'll put it this way. I have no idea how to judge how long something would take me to mess with green stuff, right? With painting, I'm usually pretty good, depending on who you ask at least. And so if I look at something and I think, yeah, that's probably a week's worth, it's usually pretty close to about a week's worth, or it'll be a little bit over, a little bit less. If it's green stuff, then it's just like, I have no idea. So if I was like sculpting or whatever, I could think something may take me 2 hours and ends up taking 5. I've had that happen before, so. Usually the green stuff is just for me. I don't really do any sculpting for anybody else. Oh, even though I forgot Angela has, like, one of the only, it was actually the first thing I ever sculpted from scratch. She literally has a one-of-one custom miniature that actually is pretty good. I don't think it's too bad. Especially for, like, my first try. I think I've shared the image before. It was that purple Frostworm. I made it for Frostgrave, and then, like, never got to play Frostgrave, so, you know, story of my life. Fall in love with the game, never get to play it. No big deal. That's why it's a hobby. So, definitely pleased here. We have some cool cascading effects going with the OSL. I believe it's a little bit too bright right here, but you know what? It's not going to make a difference because the effect is the effect. Should be fine. We'll highlight up the PP a little bit. Not because I want to, but because I'm getting paid. So there you go. You know, usually the conversation is like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I'm a professional artist. And they're like, that's awesome. I'm like, yep. So I work in the board game industry. And, you know, so I paint board game pieces and I paint miniatures and different things like that. They're like, oh, that's so cool. I've never heard of anything like that. I'm like, yeah, do you want to see a video of me painting a blue dong? And then they're like, oh, gosh, okay. Really cool. So there you go. Look at that tail. What a cool tail. Oh, as I'm knocking, look, his penis thing is knocking that over. God, this miniature is so just trash, but in terms of being edgy, I think that's one reason why I don't like Kingdom Death, because I feel like it's just edgy to be edgy, and I hate people like that. But I do like a lot of the other sculpts. So like, you know, Flower Knight, stuff like that. Butcher's really cool. Pretty much anything that just isn't over the top for no reason, I think is okay, but these sculpts are just like, really, dude? Cool, very pleased. This was the mini from last night, in case you guys didn't see it. Really, really cool. There's a lot of hidden stuff inside of it. You could, like, we painted it this way. So it's called a Night Spectre, right? However, so the creature itself, now I've never seen, like, Julie Guthrie, the sculptor, explain her thoughts on why she sculpted it this way. But, so if you actually look at, I'm wondering if I can get it. Hold on. Okay, so right here, you see what I'm pointing at? That's actually a set of eyes. Do you see the other eye right there? So this is a face. Now, last night during the class, I didn't mention this to anybody, but because we weren't painting it this way, but there are 2 other faces like this inside of the smoke. So, and then this is also like a mouth or something. But so the specter itself, right, is the smoke, or whatever it is we're looking at here. And then there are the skeletons. So some people, what they do is they'll paint this all one color, so they'll do like all ghostly green or something like that. And that way it's just some kind of cool, like just whatever, doesn't matter what it is. And then I've seen some people paint it, oh, well, I already said one color, but then I saw someone else paint it with like blood, right? Just all red, and then they covered it in like the blood effect, and it was supposed to be like some kind of blood magic or something. So instead, what I wanted to do was paint it as if the smoke was the specter or the monster, and then if it touched anything, it like seared it, just like magic energy or something, just burning everything it touches. So the idea was that we would do that glowing effect and the searing effect and transition into a blue to a black to a smoke off of the bodies of the skeletons. And then one thing we were doing too, right, so like before we went back and started doing the overlapping color, this is the stage that was at, so that was sort of at the end of the class last night. It ran overtime. We painted for like 2.5 hours, I think, something like that. I know I wasn't like finished until like 10 p.m. But so every month that's what we do. Remember, it starts at $5 a month, a 2-hour class every single month. You're silly to not sign up. Mini Painting Studio, check it out. But anyway, minipainting.studio, sorry. But so we finished there, and then what I was showing them essentially was how to then go back over certain portions of the actual like spectral smoke or whatever itself, and then that way you tie in the glow onto the skeleton's bodies into the smoke. But that was what we painted last night. It took like 2 hours, 20 minutes or so. It was pretty cool. But, okay, so I'm happy with that. What I would do next is I don't want to highlight up anything surrounding these, but what I would highlight up are like the knuckles and everything on the arms and stuff, and then black out the, well, okay, so sometimes it depends on what I'm doing, but so I would highlight the middle of, this is just water, so don't worry. I would highlight the middle of these up to a white, and then I go back over the individual bars, so like the same way that I was highlighting the S's or whatever the shapes are that make up like the iron inside these torches, I would black those out and then highlight them back up if appropriate. Sometimes you don't want to, because you want to increase that effect. You need the contrast to make it more believable. On this miniature, I probably am going to need to do that because we have the opposite down below, meaning, right, that it's super dark except for the edges. So up top, I would want it to be super bright except for the edges, right? So I have that dichotomy of those two separate things. Your eye is going to process them both at the same time, and it'll be less work for me, but your eye is going to do more work to make it look better. So that's at least the idea there. And then again, I have no idea what I'm going to do for the rest of those lanterns, but I'm assuming they'll just sort of live on their own in happiness and whatever. So let me hop over here. Shout out to everybody watching. Oh, you said 12th century. Peter knows all about Notre Dame, sorry. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube and everybody on Twitch. Twitcherino. As always, if you have questions, anything like that, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will try and help you out. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything here. Don't think I am. Cool. So, I think, well, what I want to do is... Alright. So I'm going to clean up the rim of the base and everything, and then I'll put on a glove. But what I want to do is just make sure that I at least have some paint down there, and then that way if it tries to rub off or anything, I don't really have to mess with it. But I want to address the other sections of the lantern, so maybe I'll just do a really dark gray highlight on some of them, on the edges. I can't remember if I ever went back and repainted some of these sections like straight black. If I didn't, then that's actually good, because what's happening right now is I'm just increasing the contrast. And I have a feeling that I did not, so I think I'm actually going to be increasing the contrast quite a bit, which is obviously always good. You want as much contrast as possible when doing OSL. Otherwise, in my opinion, it just looks kind of weird. Anytime I see somebody that does the like really sort of low contrast OSL thing, I'm just like, I like it, but looks cool, but not my, you know, it's like my country music. It's like, I would never listen to it, but I understand it's good. So, yeah, I like that. I also like this color. There's actually like a skin tone and a purple that were used to create the actual skin on this guy. I don't remember when I streamed it originally, but you can always go back and check out the first stream where we were working on this dude. You can see I'm going back through trying to piece out some of these harsher shadow areas with the straight up black paint. This is just the Delta Creative Ceram Coat. Great cheap utility paint. It has a ton of pigment in it. You just pretty much have to put like a 2-to-1 ratio of water. And it will work like a dream for you every time, 10 out of 10. This is actually like my favorite black paint. It's great basing paint. You can go really thick with it if you want. As long as you're applying it correctly, it'll work really, really well for that. They have a ton of colors for it as well, but... Awesome, yeah, you can see, now it may not be that drastic, but it did obviously increase the contrast used on the lighting. So I'm just going back through making sure I've done that as much as I can. Even creating harsh edges, so this is what I would call an implied edge. I'm not going to feather that out at all. I want it to dry harsh like that. Now that's probably something you're not even going to notice, right? Just because it's going to look like a drop sharp off. It's going to look like a sharp drop off. There we go. When it's dry, but... Okay. I like it. I think we're doing good. I think we're doing okay. Okay. What do you have to say about it, dude? He's like, I don't know. I need to get some Bondic right there, to be honest with you. Bondic will do the trick. Maybe. Actually. I don't know. That is one complaint about KDM stuff, though, right? Like, the, tooling of them has always sort of been gooftacular. I think I'll go ahead and increase the same contrast here on the back of the hair. It's gonna be black anyway, but with this, I'm just gonna try and turn it into more of a wash. So I'm just adding water. Being cognizant as well, of course, of the reflection from these lanterns. making sure to do it from a direction that makes sense. Okay. Trying to darken up the middle of the mane there. Very similar to what I did on Gorm. I added some color just to vary it up a little bit. Man, in this miniature as well, like, now this is so ugly to me just because it's like such a bad sculpt. The only reason I say that is because this is so lazy. Like, everything about this is lazy. I also feel like this head is like the scale of like a actual doll, like a baby doll, which I think is interesting. But only stuff I have left for this, I was messing with the highlights and the cracks on the skin. I tried to get them running along, so there are like all these cracks that run this way. So I tried to highlight those up to give them variance. You can actually see pretty drastically the highlights on the legs. When you look at it like this, you really can't see it that crazy. And then I need to dot up the mouth to make it look nice and wet, but sort of like the same way that I tinted that just to break apart the boringness of that sculpt. I'll do the same thing here. I need to tint the hair and then highlight it up on each side. I actually probably should use the color for the OSL that we've been using, so we can probably do that right now. That's also what's nice about painting something like this, is that you're able to sort of, not necessarily cut corners, but you're able to utilize more of that paint. I'm glad I saw that alarm go off. You're able to utilize more of that paint that you're using, like the color, so like the this blue right here, I'm able to use it more in different areas than having to color match or anything like that. So sort of like the same way we were looking from the top down, this is what I would do to see how the light is reflecting on its hair, okay? So I'm holding it from, if you look at my face, literally upside down. But so I'm looking at where these lanterns are. So technically, I would do reflections starting from the left-hand side of that brush right about there, because when we tilt it, that's pretty much where that cutoff is. So that's where I would be applying that color, and then I would just ignore all of that. And that would give me the shadow from the shoulder. And you can also verify that too by just looking. None of this would be hit by those lanterns because you see it goes completely over the field of view. So that's just one way to double check that you're doing reflections correctly if you actually care. On this side, same thing. So I would pretty much do reflections starting like right there, which means I would be ignoring the majority of the hair that's touching the side of the body. Now then, it is already lit because it's right there next to the lantern, but I would really pick them out sort of up on the top there, and then keep it nice and dark in the middle. I could probably branch them out either way, sort of like how we purposefully pulled the reflection closer in towards the hands on that side. On the back, it doesn't make any sense because his hips are blocking everything. Right now, actually on the back, we did go further down that way. But right here, the hips are blocking everything from pretty much there and beyond. Looks like I did get black paint right there, which is fine. Let's see how recently. I need to be watching my hand because I'm just literally moving the miniature around. Excuse you, sir. You're a color that shouldn't be there. Get off, get off, get off, get off. Good enough for me. And then we'll clean it off with some dirty water. Look at that. Now I just need a little bit of gray to glaze on top and it's good. If you're just now joining, I'm showing everyone how to bathe miniatures. Okay, cool. Really, I just want to make sure everything has the same surface tension of water, so that way nothing pools up. If there is any pigment in that water at all, it shouldn't make a difference now. Because that whole section's wet, so it shouldn't do anything. But, so I'm going to wait 2 seconds, and then I'm going to mix up a sort of that same purplish gray and overlay it, which I happen to have on the palette already from working on Gorm a second ago. So let me see if I can do this gently. Looks like I'm just going to need to let it completely dry. JV, don't post comments like that, please. If you want to ruin my life, continue, but please don't. I need this to be darker. A little bit darker. It's like it never happened. Bada bing, bada boom. Look at that. Covered up. You can always fix your mistakes when painting. You just have to be patient. Just incorporating a little bit of this color just because I know that the tone is a little bit different than where I had it, so we're just going to try and introduce it in like literally barely 2 little places. I really don't have to apply it over here, but I may as well just to keep it congruent. You can see I'm pushing the pigment at like a 45-degree angle. I'm literally not taking the brush off the miniature. The reason I'm doing that is because it's going to taper it off perfectly for me. Boom, see? Looks great. All right, so definitely pleased with the progress today from this. I think it looks nice and awesome and glowy. I hope you appreciated watching the process and the thought process of like how to see where you should place your OSL by literally like looking at it from the angles that the light is actually going to be hitting, and it really, really helps. So honestly, this probably has maybe an hour and a half left worth of work. Again, I need to do the highlighting on the arms and then tidy up and finish up those lanterns. I want to take this same color that we used for those highlights and do it a little bit on the hair right there, a little bit on the hair right there, and then I might do maybe brown actually. So instead of a tan, for a little bit of the point highlights on the other lanterns, I may use like a darker brown only because your eye is going to tell you that it's probably silver, but competing against a blue like that, if you have a periodic table of painting, you will notice, right, that it's going to point you in the direction of oranges first and then reds. So if you're using like a darker brown, since that's right in between, it's really sort of hard to distinguish, at least comparatively next to a blue. It should work perfectly. So that would sort of be the trade-off that I would do with color there. But either way, I'll probably finish it. This guy will probably have a nice photo done later today, and I'll have it uploaded so you can check it out. But thanks for hanging out and watching. Really, doing OSL effects are not hard. You don't have to have a airbrush. Obviously, the airbrush definitely helps, but you don't need it. You just need to be patient and push the paint where you want it to dry. So that'll be it for today. Thanks for watching if you're watching on Facebook. Thanks for watching if you're watching on Twitch. Thanks for watching if you're watching on YouTube. And that is it. So I'll see you guys again tomorrow at 2 p.m. CST. Take it easy. Goodbye.